This is Doechii, a musical prodigy before the fame, and I studied 30 of her old YouTube videos to see how she went from this.
I feel like there's some type of blockage or some type of barrier that I just haven't gotten through yet.
To this.
3 women have won. Lauryn Hill, Cardi B, and Doechii.
And what I found was 3 powerful lessons that anyone can apply to have their own divine breakthrough. And I'm going to share all 3 with you.
I will be discovered and I will be famous, so take notes.
And my name is Joe Yuli. I'm a philosopher and I study vocations, our sacred callings. I'm absolutely obsessed with it. So it made sense for me to go ahead and study Doechii. And honestly, I didn't even know about Doechii until about a month ago. My partner actually told me, she said, hey, you should probably look into this Doechii person and study what's going on because she's having this big breakthrough moment. She's everywhere on TikTok, she's blowing up on YouTube, her songs are going viral. So I wanted to get underneath what is going on here. And what I found underneath this genre-bending, Grammy Award-winning singer, songwriter, rapper was that under the glamour of the success, there was something more important to understand, a reason as to why she was coming into center stage. Because this very, very inspiring, creative, vibrant soul was making interesting vocational decisions, interesting choices on her path, choices that many people don't make. And yet she was doing something different. That as I got deeper into studying many of her old YouTube videos, I went over 30 of her old YouTube videos, and thankfully she actually put them up from the age of around 16 to 22, where she started to really pick up steam and go viral, and people started to notice her, of the entire journey. And so I went over all 30 of these videos to understand, okay, what is going on here? What are the ups? What are the downs? What is the psychology? What is the mindset? What is her relationship with spirituality? Where does she actually start to break through? Where does she get blocked? What is happening here? And I went over all of these different videos and it just started to become really clear as to what the main things were that allowed her to actually have this divine breakthrough, which inevitably brought up this question as I was going through the different videos. Why was Doechii able to have this breakthrough moment when so many other people can't? And by doing this study, I found 3 really important, powerful lessons that anyone who's pursuing their vocation can take away so that they too can have this breakthrough moment. Now, before I do share those 3 powerful lessons, I do want to address a typical protest, which is that a lot of people say, well, she made it because she's special, because she's lucky, because her path isn't as hard as my path. And, you know, if my path was easier, then I too would have a divine breakthrough. And in studying vocations for so many different years, helping so many people to choose the right career path with conviction and then walk their vocation in the world, every single path, every single vocation has challenges, no matter what the path is. If it's your true path, challenges are baked in. You're going to come up against different barriers, different hurdles, different things that you've got to overcome yourself. This might be technically, right, skill. This might be psychologically, right, beliefs. This might be emotionally, being able to maintain stability in the chaos of the different emotions that hit you. This might be spiritually, right? You might not have that spiritual connection. Because you don't have that spiritual connection, you don't feel aligned, you're unable to move forward in your path, or you feel blocked. And so every single person experiences challenges along the way, and Doechii is no different. And what's even more interesting, after going through all these different YouTube videos that she put out into the world, is that the challenges that she faced, anyone can face, anyone can look at, anyone can do. And yet she did face them, and she did work through them, and she did navigate them, which is why she was able to break through in the first place. So if you automatically have this thing that goes off in your mind like, well, you know, she's famous, not me. If that's going off and that's like ringing bells in your mind, know that by going through these 3 powerful lessons that I'm about to share with you will actually help you to reorient yourself in such a way that you too can start to move forward on your path. So for example, you need to face beliefs about yourself that are causing you to contract rather than expand. And Doechii found these things and she faced them. You need to experiment in the world and be seen in new ways. Doechii continually pushed herself out of her comfort zone, and she did this to find the type of artist that she was meant to be. You need to have faith in the inner knowing that you're meant for more. Doechii really learned to listen to this inner knowing, and she held on to it tight. You also need to have this internal conviction in your calling so that outside forces cannot persuade you against your soul's desire. Doechii cultivated and nurtured these really strong roots. And so here's the thing, everything that she did, you can do too. So if you're thinking, well, she's special, well, yes, she is special, but you are too. And so here are the 3 powerful lessons that we can learn from Doechii and how to pursue our vocation in the world. And this applies to any calling, any path, any vocation. Powerful lesson 1. Return to self. All vocations, all paths will require you to continually return to self. Now, a return to self is simply coming back and reconnecting with your inner world and who it is that you are. You can do this through prayer, through meditation, through journaling, through inner dialogue, any way to reconnect you with yourself without the external noise of others, without the opinions of people that are around you, without the world's noise. And the reason for this is because as you pursue your path, you'll naturally veer off a little bit. And as you're veering off, if you continue to veer off, then suddenly you go off track and you're walking down a path that isn't your path. And this can happen because of friends, family, work colleagues, people that are online, followings, audiences. It can happen because of news events. It can happen because of, bumping into a stranger and the stranger says something and it goes the wrong way with you, and suddenly you're thinking about that and it pulls you off, which means that the need to continually return to self is a really important piece, both in the micro and the macro of walking your path in the world. Now, most people end up veering off and they don't get back on track and they just keep veering off and veering off and veering off, and they walk a path that isn't their own path. They go to college and they don't want to go to college. They're working a job or walking a career path that isn't really meant for them. They know this meant for something else, but they don't really engage with this return to self, so they just keep walking that wrong path. And you can also see this in people that keep creating work for others, but they're not really connected to it or developing it from their own creative perspective. However, when it comes to Doechii, she does face these trials. She's like everybody else. She has to face the noise of the world. She has to face the disappointment of her mum, really not being impressed with her not going to college. She has to deal with ex-boyfriends listening to her music and being like, laughing at it. And through these different trials, she has to continually return back to herself and say like, no, I know that I'm meant for this. I know that I'm meant to do this. And without that, she doesn't have her divine breakthrough. And the way that she is able to continually return to herself is that she has this really interesting experience where she names this state of experience a word, and that word is Doechii. The interesting thing with her is that Doechii is not her given name. Her real name is Jayla Jemiah Hickman. And it's after this sacred experience where she's 16 years old, she's going through some tough times, and she's dealing with this emotion, and she doesn't want to feel this particular emotion anymore. And she ends up entering this sort of divine experience. And in this divine experience, she ends up hearing this voice that she says is the Holy Spirit, and it tells her this name, Doechii. And at that moment, she says that she experiences this ecstasy and this joy and this real knowing that this is what she wants to be. This is what she wants to experience. This is what she wants to step into. And so she names the state Doechii. And so her very name is this continual return to this core important piece of her soul and the person that she's meant to become. And this is a real pivotal moment in her vocation, because it's at this point that she finds this foundation and anchor point that she is continually returning to from 16 to 22 when she starts to break out into the world and be seen. She's continually having to return to the state through all these different trials and obstacles and hindrances along her path. And by capturing this pattern, this energy, this state, and naming it, it gives her an anchor within this foundational base. Now, I call this a career archetype, to capture the pattern of your vocation and place a name on it is what I call this career archetype, this foundational energy. And she does it through her name. She says, okay, this state, this is what I want to be, Doechii. And the really encouraging thing is that because she has names of this state, Doechii, what it means is that even as she starts to navigate the heights of fame, she has that internal structure within herself that she can always return to, which is so important the further in someone gets into their vocation, to always have those foundational structures that they can lean on.
I have been in the same place because I am doing the same things. I have established the same pattern. Now, the pattern and habits and behaviors that I used when I was in high school worked for me at that time, and they got me good results. But I have moved on to a different place and I have matured. Therefore, my behaviors have to change. My habits have to change. My patterns have to change in order for me to see different results.
Powerful lesson 2, new transcendent beliefs. New transcendent beliefs are a prerequisite to any vocation. You need to have new beliefs in order to pull yourself out of the current circumstances and situations that you are in at the moment. Without having these new beliefs, you can never exit out of current realities and current paradigms. But it's really difficult to form these new beliefs because you have to look at old beliefs, really dig into them, pull them out like weeds, and replant better ones. And so there's this process that people will just avoid because of the pain of having to go there, the pain of having to go underneath their psyche into their unconscious. And you can think about this as an example of if you are, afraid of sharing more of yourself or expressing more of yourself or sharing your creative work, if you're worried that you're going to be judged negatively for it, if you have this belief, I will be judged negatively, then unconsciously, even if you do want to break through, even if you do want to share your work, you're always going to hold back. You're always going to pull back. You're not going to be able to properly express yourself without it getting distorted or, being hindered at the point of pure expression. And so a new belief would have to be something like, I believe that my work will be judged positively. And you would have to truly believe that. And by believing in that, even without evidence, believing in that, it would help to pull you out of the current circumstances, and it would allow you to transcend upwards, because a new belief can transcend you and pull you out of where you currently are. Now, Doechii did this, and she went through this really potent and intense period of going underneath and really pulling out beliefs that did not serve where she wanted to go, did not serve the vocation that she wanted to pursue. And the framework that she used was Julia Cameron's The Artist Way, a very famous book that helps artists to really get in tune with how to be an artist. And Julia Cameron had Doechii staring at beliefs like, you'll be a one-hit wonder, you'll be laughed at for being vulnerable, the first draft should be perfect. And she slowly pulled at each belief and pulled each belief out of her mind and planted new beliefs. And so Doechii started to believe things like, I am a shameless creative. I am capable of making an abundance of great art. And I need to create regardless of anyone because it's just me, the work, and God. And so she completely changed her beliefs. And what you need to understand is that none of these beliefs were platitudes, right? They weren't just, I kind of believe that, or I semi-believe that, or right? Doechii really believed in these new beliefs. And this is one of the most important things when it comes to really creating new transcendent beliefs within yourself, is that you actually have to believe them. And if there's tension there, or if there's a lie there, or a block there, or a hindrance there, then it's unable to pull you out into the space that you're meant to be in. And so she's constantly looking in this period at old beliefs that do not serve her in her vocation, pulling them out, tearing them out, and looking at new beliefs that will serve her vocation and planting them in their place.
I got to the root of my issues, basically, which is great. It feels really good because now that I identified what those creative monsters are, I'm able to kind of just move past that and get over that shit.
Powerful lesson 3, forging one's path. The vocation requires you to assert yourself in the world in such a way that the world bends to your divine will. And by divine will, I mean that we all have this calling from above, this higher reason for being a work that is meant to be in this world. And it has to come into existence. And the way that it comes into existence is through us. And we have to assert it into existence. And there are different layers within us that can stop this divine will coming into the world. These can be spiritual misalignment, emotional blockages. It can look like psychological beliefs. We just went over new transcendent beliefs. Beliefs can hold you back from bringing what you're meant to do into the world. And also technical things meaning skills and having the know-how and knowledge to how to bring certain things into existence. Meaning that the dream career path, the life that you really know within you should be living, can't exist without your ability to assert it into the world. What's interesting, and having studied so many different vocations over the years, when people really are clear on what it is that they want and what it is that they desire, and they have the talent and ability to bring it forward, and it's still not happening, it's always divine will that is the problem. It's a problem with their ability to assert themselves into the world, into existence in such a way again and again and again until the world bends to them. Because our divine will wants to come out into the world, but it can't come out if we block it along the way and we don't bring it forth. So let me ground this with an example. Imagine that you are someone that wants to create these amazing restorative healing retreats. The question isn't if this could happen. The question is, why wouldn't it happen? Because the divine will often meets some form of resistance, which causes there to be an inability of a breakthrough. So does someone give up at the planning stage when they've been overwhelmed with too much to learn? Or does someone give up when the location they want is too expensive? Or does someone give up when no one signs up after they've launched it to the public and no one cares? Or does someone give up when they've created their first retreat and at the end they're really, really tired and now they're like, should I even do this anymore? Meaning that the path won't happen unless the divine will of the individual is stronger than the challenges, relentlessly forging ahead. And if we think about Doechii, there are so many different challenges that could have stopped her. There are so many different challenges that could have caused her to say like, okay, this isn't for me. I need to go do something else. And yet she just kept going. One of my favorite stories from all of the study that I did was that she ends up going to Rock Nation headquarters, this record label, and she doesn't know how to get inside. Someone else that works there goes in and she sneaks in behind and she tries to get to the lift or the elevator. And as she's getting to the elevator, trying to get to the very top floor so that she can, try and talk to execs to get a record deal, security comes in and says like, hey, what are you doing here? You're not with anybody. And then she sort of just bluffs it and is like, oh yeah, I think I'm with someone. I just got an email. Let me go check. And she didn't actually have an email. And then she leaves, right? She gets sort of pointed towards the door and she pretends like she's going to make a call outside the building and then just never comes back in. And most people after that moment start to think to themselves like, oh, okay, maybe this just isn't meant to happen. Maybe this just isn't on the cards. For her, she left that building, right, having no record deal, having made like no real progress. And she ends up getting back home and she just lists out more record companies. And she starts listing them out like, maybe I could go to this place or this place or this place or this place. She also starts to think, well, I need to go to more open mic events. I need to go and perform more. I need to go and be around more artists, more musicians. I need to go observe people that are working in the space. I need to do more study. She just doubles down, right? This doesn't deter her. Getting told no doesn't deter her pursuit. And it's so important to understand when it comes to your vocation that you'll need this continual, relentless showing up again and again and again and again and again so that the divine will can come through and you can assert yourself in the world until the world bends to you. And I can tell you now that for Doechii, without this inspired and relentless action, she has no divine breakthrough. She doesn't make it. She is one of the many talented people who are talented, but they never break through.
I know what I want, and that's that.
Now, in hearing all three of these powerful lessons, here are some helpful questions to ask yourself so that you too can start to get on track towards having your own divine breakthrough. The first question is, do you believe Doechii's level of success is unattainable for you? If you do, why? Really diving into why you think that is going to lead you into certain beliefs that you have, and look at powerful lesson 2, new transcendent beliefs. You need new transcendent beliefs. The second question is, what parts of this video made you feel uncomfortable? Is this an area within you which you have been avoiding yourself? And just thinking through the different parts, feeling-wise, viscerally, what felt off, what felt like, I don't really like that. Dive into why. It's going to help to open you up to how you're viewing things and how you're viewing your path. The third helpful question to ask yourself is, if you've ever attempted to pursue something in the past that was close to your heart and you gave up, what caused you to stop? Diving into what has stopped you in the past will show you certain ways that you're viewing your path that are holding you back. And alternatively, if you haven't pursued something close to your heart, why not? What is stopping you? Diving into this question is actually going to help you to return to self, to really reconnect with who you are and the voices of the external world and how they're holding you back from actually pursuing your path. Now, in studying Doechii's divine breakthrough, the core takeaway is that anyone can have a divine breakthrough. Anyone can return to self. Anyone can create new transcendent beliefs, right? Really staring at old beliefs and tearing out the old beliefs that don't work and planting new ones. And anyone can allow their divine will to come through to forge their own path, but not everyone does. And that's the difference between her and people that do not have divine breakthroughs. Because we all have a vocation, but the difference between people that do not walk their calling in the world and those people that pursue their vocation in the world is that they believe in their calling and they're continually taking steps towards it, allowing the divine will to come through. Now, if you too are ready to know what your path is and how to have your own breakthrough and how to choose the right career path with conviction by unearthing your own career archetype, then I would encourage you to come and check out our online community. Inside that community, I show people the exact steps to take to know what their career path is with conviction by unearthing their very own career archetype. And we go through this 8-week course. And during that course, we look at you, who you are, what you're born to do in multiple different perspectives. We look at Jungian psychology, astrology, psychological barriers and hurdles, the different interests that you have, what are the core components of those interests and how do they weave within the fabric of your path. And we also look at these different old, outdated beliefs that you have. We pull them out and we start to plant new ones in there. And as you go through this process, you end up coming to this convergence point where you know what your calling is with deep conviction. You have your own ritual that you go through whereby you know what your career archetype name is. And after that, we also show you how to walk the steps in the modern world, right? What does the structure of your path look like? how do you actually take those very first steps? How do you earn money in the modern world with your career archetype? And we really put you in position to be able to step into your vocation. And if you're interested in that, then check out the link below.